Okay. The management's been kind enough to say we can go over a little bit, which is nice, but I'm still asking everybody to, keep to schedule perhaps, say 5 minutes or so each. Anyway, our next poet is Sean McKenzie, who is active with the Sisters Saying Something performance group. They do a lot of things around Rochester. In her other life, she's the vice president at RIT and former head of the Wallace Library, RIT Libraries. So anyway, give it up for Sean McKenzie.
Not quite vice president, but thank you for the promotion.
Maybe by tomorrow, you never know.
Definitely by the end of the week. Underneath the places where this clown strikes appealing poses for public consumption, a little girl lives who fears strangers. And behind the bravado and the tempered gusto, there is one so small as to lack significance. This young gal, this tender youth, extends trusting, fragile feelings to bridge the dark places filled with unfamiliar faces. No, I am not Joan of Arc, and I shall never be such a woman as Mary McLeod Bethune. All I have is a sensitive, separate portion, and it makes me vulnerable to you. But underneath my little places, where this desire for recognition resides, a small girl dwells, quietly relying on the promises of daydreams. Thank you. I embarked on parenthood about a decade ago. It's a journey. This is called Himself, 2009. It's about my little boy. I trudge slowly but purposefully towards my car. The asphalt is snow-covered deep, and it's cold, but it's bright. And Himself bounds through the fresh-fallen clumps, kicking white powder all about like a snowplow. He is sliding and stomping and running here and there in this inevitable zigzag. And then he jumps butt first into the fluffiness of it all. And then he rolls around in it, deeply pleasured. And I keep on walking. And every so often I glance over my shoulder at him, some kind of assurance that something resembling forward momentum is being made. And he runs up this big rock and stakes claim at the top of it as if it was Everest. "Cowabunga, dude!" he yells victoriously to some invisible inferior. And then he runs down the rock and through the white-covered field onto the base of this tall, abstract statue. And of course, he attempts twice to scale back. "Come on," I beckon him with frost on my nose. "It is cold." And obviously, he has not noticed. My news update does not alter his Quixote quest, and I remain a steadily moving freight train, hauling my heavy bag and his backpack and 5 books that we checked out of the library, and he remains a fancy-free explorer running towards some intimidating pile of yesterday's plowed snow. And he climbs. As he climbs, I recall this television show where 2 little boys were playing, and one of them slipped down deep into this soft, giant snow pile and was lost. And I have concerns. I always have concerns. And I mumble and chastise myself, but I say nothing to him, because I played in snow piles once myself, and I want him to be free, and I want him to create his own fun, and I want to keep my neuroses from bombarding his little boy adventures. because this is who he should be, and this is how he should be. And anyway, I would dig through that pile like a maniac with bare hands and my teeth if it came to that. So finally I reach my car, and my back is aching from my load, and my legs are shaking from trudging in these heavy boots, and I jump in as quickly as possible, relieved with my teeth chattering, and I turn on the engine and start the wiper, and the music of Mozart surrounds me and starts working to calm me, and I wait for some heat inside the cocoon of my car. And he is rolling down this big pile, head over feet, over head, over feet, and he stands up all snow-covered and wet and smiles at me, and I wonder, where the hell is his red hat that used to be on his head? But challenged by his foe, that he reclaims that pile again like a man on fire, and he reaches the top, and then he takes this daring nosedive forward and rolls over like a giant snowball, and plop down at the bottom and spreads eagle and makes this distorted angel waving his arms and his legs about in this frenzy of his own little bliss. And then I finally feel the first sign of heat in my car, thank God. And he stands up and looks to make sure that I'm still watching, and then he runs back up the top again, and he raises his arms like Rocky, and he's all exhilarated with his own manliness and blazoned by his agility, and his face is filled with this joy, and I'm wondering, where the hell are his gloves? In no hurry, he wanders over to the side of the pile furthest from me, and then he stops moving and he stares intently at something. And so I crane my neck up a little bit upon realizing that I really can only still see his face. And then he looks over at me with this look of what could be amazement. And then suddenly he starts waving at me, come and see. And nothing makes me want to get out of that car. Nothing. Except love for the 7-year-old, who's now jumping up and down, all excited. Mom! He's yelling, come here, quick! So grudgingly, I lumber out of the car, but I leave it running, and I leave the heat on, and I go toward him. What, man? I say, trying very hard not to sound too annoyed or alarmed, but I'm secretly hoping this is not some dead something or other that he likes to find and share with me. So I walk around the snow pile. Look, Mom, he points as I approach, and I have to look twice to see what he sees. I have to look past me at 53 to try to see and to try to comprehend. And in front of him, there's this big circle of green grass, and it doesn't have any snow on it because it had been warmed by this heat from the grating that was near it. And I see it, but I really have no idea why it is so fascinating. Okay, what is it, I ask. Spring, he says happily. And then with lightning speed, he flips over backwards and rolls into the snow again. And I look at this grating, and I look at him, and I look at this green grass all exposed. Spring. Of course. Cowabunga. Indeed. Thank you. I did not intend to become responsible for anything or anybody, let alone myself. My plan, loosely speaking, was centered around my own hassle-free existence. I was born to live for the next party, and if the party didn't come, well, I could be a party on my own. And then I fell in love, and I got religion, and now it's 9 to 5 and no time for drinking, and my taxes are due in 14 days, and I just did make the damn car payment, and the man is coming tomorrow to collect the rent, and I got this stack of bills that's marked to pay, and my mama wants to know when I'm going to fly down her way, and my sweetheart tells me I'm not much fun because my loving just ain't what it used to be. And down the hall, I can hear Aretha singing, but I just can't identify that song. I got my hands in my heart, child, and I wish hard that somebody would turn up that music. I got one more. This is called Sonnet to the Diva. And for those of you who are married, that's my wife in the back. For those of you who are married, you might recognize a little bit of this. How do I love you? Let me break it down. I love you despite the way that you push me, even when I specifically do not want to be pushed. When what I need is to discern if forward momentum is the way I desire to go, and it isn't about you and what you want me to do. I love you even when you cannot be reasoned with because you have some specific concept of how something is supposed to be, and me with my annoying opinion is just interfering with you and your clear picture, which does not have room for any alterations. And I love you even though I often want to shake you hard so you can see how you sound, or cuss you out so I can feel better, or walk out and leave you talking behind me, or end it just to be done with trying to understand when all I really want is some quiet and not to hear your perspective for a while. I love you in our lean times when I can't find a means to please you, because nothing I do is ever right. And I love you in our abundant days when I can't please you enough to satisfy my own damn self. And I love you knowing that what I once thought I knew turns out not to apply to this thing that we have at all. Because all the things that I love about you, your passion, your desire to communicate, your ride or die loving, and that assertive, aggressive, take no prisoner attitude is really the shit, girl. Except, of course, when it's directed at me and then it gets on my last damn nerve. And I love you in the car when you're driving too fast. And it makes me feel old when I have to tell you to slow down, though you don't. And yet instead you remind me who's driving, but that does not make it right to like the 4,000th time. And I love you even though you hardly ever want to go watch a hockey game. And even when you do, I know you could care less. Who's winning? And even worse, I have to listen to you whining about how cold it is, and the seats are hard, and the coffee sucks. And I'll keep on loving you in the shopping mall, when I do the death march, walking beside you trying hard to pretend that I care whether the stripes on that shirt are blue or brown, because my legs are aching, and I'm hot. And every one of those goddamn bowls in all 4 stores look exactly the same to me. Though I really did try to see what you see, I can't. So, can we go now? How do I love you? Let me make it clear. I love you inclusively, with all the things about loving you that I am proud of, and all the things that I am really not so fond of. And I love you exclusively, which surprises me, because even when loving you feels hard, I still desire no one else. And around you, with only you right next to you, is where I want my thighs draped when we arrive on the other side of whatever the shit is that we are breaking apart this time. That's not conjecture, baby. That's fact. I'm always ready to please you or receive you. And I love you hard and strong, and loving you is the one thing that I'm good at. I don't want to be without you, or this real grown-up love that you give me. And I feel this, despite all your drama, and inside all my shortcomings, and with all the hard work that we still need to do, if we're ever going to make this thing better. I love you no matter how frequently you have to remind me that I am not as romantic as I should be, and I'm not nearly as cute as I think I am. And I'm almost not even worth the trouble that you have to endure, because you love me too. Thank you.
I can find it.
Our next poet, just coming up to do one, is got to get to work. And he's our IT student, Nicholas Eckerson, who is a Kierce Award winner and read recently at Wanda's Genesee series with me, actually. Nick.
That's right.
That's right, just one.
So wait.
You ready?
It's called a bedtime story. Stop driving. Pull over right here. Now you got a new bed? How much? That's a huge tab for one night. And so she just said, we're going to your house. See, my friend picked up this broad. It's a real broad-sized mattress. Now you sure no one was throwing her out though? She sounds curved. Like she still has the marks from a Hummer H2 roof rag. And yeah, I bet it's a nice rag. Well, pull down this street. What do you mean you were outside the store all night, riding the kitty Quarter Toro? Those are huge quarters. Oh, not all night, but you had to get change. But still, we're over the weight limit, you know? And yeah, you know where my quarters go. Almost the same thing, with the jukebox blowing in my face, with the tire hose at the gas station coming over me until I was sick of getting. The same hair the next morning, nose all red, ear tips all red, eyes red. Well, still, man, I didn't bring home a mattress. I just feel a little winded, but pumped for later. He puts on his Army Honorable Discharge t-shirt ready for bed. Tomorrow night, he wears his dad #2 flu shirt. And then there's the one he got for Christmas, GF #2 flu. All are 90s, too big to wear anywhere else. You know, too loud, like pleather. In the queen bed with the Jack Daniels comforter, he mostly ordered it for the bed. He pretty much head.